Hello and welcome to IT Career in Australia channel. And today, Ben and I will share with you top tips for writing the perfect IT project manager resume in Australia. So if you're a project manager in the tech industry, you're probably finding the current job market a bit tough with many projects on hold. So today we're focusing on the top resume tips designed specifically for IT project managers. So remember, the main goal of your resume is to land you an interview. So with the new financial year approaching, it's a perfect time to get your resume ready for upcoming opportunities. So let's get started and transform your resume into a powerful tool that puts you in front of those upcoming potential opportunities. So please, Ben, briefly introduce yourself and let's dive into it.
Yeah, hi, Jana. Thank you. So my name is Ben Wood. I manage CV writers and IT CV writers. You can find us at cvwriters.com.au. For the last 8 years, I've been specializing in helping people in the IT industry develop their CVs, LinkedIn profiles, and a bunch of other things. And the top profession that we actually work with out of the entire IT industry is IT project managers. So I'm very happy to talk to you today and share a few tips with your audience.
How convenient, yeah, that's top audience. So let's, I guess, look at some example and dive into the main tips that need to be included in the IT project manager resume.
Cool. So we'll just take a quick look at page 1, and I'll just talk about some of the elements we've got here. We've got our, and there's probably no surprises for those of you who've tried to build your own resume. The elements here are your executive summary. This is your pitch for being a PM with that important factual information. We've got some examples of your work, a project showcase, and then we've got the statements that cover your expertise. And these are factual, evidence-based statements.
Cool. Let's dive into the top tips. Let's start with the first one, job title optimization.
Yeah, thanks. So job titles. I would say this about every single CV. Job titles is the most important thing you need to optimize in your CV. There's lots of different reasons. I won't go through all of them, but fine-tuning your CV so that your job title is a one-to-one match with the job you're applying for is really critical. And it only takes a few seconds, right? So I would, in this case, maybe change senior PM to IT project manager. Or I might change it to something a little bit different, like delivery lead, or maybe agile project manager. So it's really important to adjust your job titles so they're a one-to-one match.
And I think it could be quite confusing because sometimes for some company might advertise for Scrum Master but actually meaning project manager, or they advertise for delivery lead but looking for that project manager skills. Would you recommend to go back to your professional history as well and change some job titles, or only change it on the front?
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what I recommend, Jana. You need to go back through your professional history, and you can do this on LinkedIn. You can apply the strategy on LinkedIn as well. And you need to often translate your assigned job title to the job title that you're actually doing. For example, you might have been called a delivery lead. You might change that to program manager or senior project manager. So what you can do is, in your professional history, is you can have multiple job titles, and that's exactly what you should do. Yeah, and in the case, if they're asking for Scrum Master, I might simply just go in here and change Senior PM to Scrum Master, and go back through my history and also put that Scrum Master job title in brackets.
Yeah, definitely. So that kind of brings us to the second tip, the keywords optimization. So we'll start optimize from a title. What other keywords we should optimize?
Sure. So keyword optimization is a really big thing in tech profiles, and that's you need to adopt this strategy. I'm sure I'm sure everyone watching would have heard about this and understands that you need to include some keywords. This is this particular profile that I've got on screen here is a really good showcase of how to do keyword optimization really well. So the keywords that we're optimizing here are data center, AWS cloud, for example, and repeating them here right up the top. This is a really powerful feature of the template that we use, is having these keywords right up the top like a headline. These are the things that I specialize in. And we're also repeating them. And if you were to read through the whole of page 1, you'd actually find AWS is repeated about 7 or 8 times. But it's got to be in context. You can't just stuff the keywords in where they don't fit. And you obviously have to have legitimate experience in this space. So examples of keyword optimization here in the first bullet point in that title, data center, and then further down where we're drilling into our technical skills and background, we've got data center, cloud, we've got AWS mentioned a few times there.
Yeah, make sure to spread them out, not just mention AWS once at the top and that's it, and forgot about it in your whole resume.
Exactly
that would look suspicious. And I know a lot of project managers sometimes have a really long professional history because they might work on a different project every 12 to 18 months, depends on their career journey. So how to highlight the main projects and what projects to actually include?
Sure. So what I would do is I would have a project showcase here, because you're often as only good as your last gig, right? Like, especially if you're in a contract PM type role, you're sort of your last 2 or 3 your last 2 or 3 projects will be the most important. So what I would recommend to do is just to showcase a few of the projects you've worked on here that are the most sort of recent and relevant to the type of role you're applying for. And what you might like to do is actually customize that list there of highlights depending on the role you're going for. So if there was something that was heavy on, if you were going for a role that was to do with ERP implementation, for example, and you didn't have that in there, but hey, you have done a project in that space 4 or 5 years ago, you could actually go and write that bullet point in as a showcase of work that you've done in that area. But look, it's critical to have, as a PM, you're measured on the size and the scale of projects you've done. So it's really important that you're able to showcase some of the bigger pieces of work that you've done, and talk about the impact that you had as a PM, delivering against difficult deadlines, rescuing something that was off track. Those are sort of ideal examples that you can put up there.
Yeah, or maybe even have those, like a list of that 10 projects, but then pick and choose which one you include in applying for the particular role.
Well, that would be super professional, next level approach. Yeah, I would recommend that. Yeah, usually as you go, each application each role you're going for, you might find, okay, there's one bullet point I can write, and you sort of, exactly, you're adding to that list, and you have a kind of master list at the end of that approach.
Yeah. So the next point, what sort of skills project managers need to include in their resume?
Cool. Well, we all have worked with PMs, and we all kind of know that there's a core skill set around being a PM, around delivery, governance, planning, risk management, things like that. I think the key thing is to stand out is if you're a junior PM, you probably want to cover your credentials in those basic, building blocks of project management. As you're a senior PM, you want to focus more on, you want the right skills mix, basically. So you don't need to focus on those low-level things like, a Gantt chart or, providing progress reports. You'd focus on the things that matter. So, for example, for someone who's fairly senior, working on some fairly big projects, you would focus on maybe things like governance, vendor management, leading people, rather than the low-level things. So I think it's a case of just getting the right mix for where you're at in your career, but also responding to the job ad, so the selection criteria. So if the selection criteria is heavy on maybe governance, it's mentioning vendors, you would select those skills to be included in your CV.
Yeah, again, making sure to customize it for the application. And last but not least, tip for today is your methodology and certifications. Where do you include those ones?
Yeah, exactly. So we could have a whole discussion about whether certifications mean that you're a great PM or not. But look, I I would display them prominently. So I think stating your credentials up front is really important. You can use logos. I would use these though. Just be a little bit careful with that. It's usually regarded. You don't want to put graphics in the body of the document, but these are actually in the header of the document at the top, so you can use those logos. I would state your certifications as part of your credentials there. You can also use the acronyms for certain credentials that you might hold up in that title headline as well, where they might be important for you being shortlisted. And then just further down in the document, like you would normally do in the sort of education and certs area, you could list them again. And sort of what we're doing there, we're actually doing some keyword optimization. So if something like, maybe CBAP certification was important, we're actually mentioning that multiple times in the document. So that's actually optimizing that as a keyword as well.
Makes sense. Yes, thinking about that optimization and trying to customize as much as you can for each application, that probably will get you will have a high chance for you to land this interview. I trust you find this video helpful. And if you want a more comprehensive advice on your project manager resume, please make sure to head to Ben's website, cvwriters.com.au. I'll pop the link in the comments so you can book the complimentary 15 minutes session with Ben. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure to tune in to my weekly live discussions with IT professionals in Australia every Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. And also join my next tech working event if you're in Melbourne for the chance to connect in person. Thank you, Ben. I'm sure we'll see you in future videos.
Thanks, Jana. I had fun today.